It's that time of year again. We're just under 40 days before college football begins and goes into full swing. And here I'm going to be talking about the big marquee games of each and every single week. And of course, we're going to start with week number 1. So I have the main matchup and then some honorable mentions. So the marquee matchup, the one that has so much on the line, is Clemson versus LSU week 1. You have veteran quarterbacks who have started for multiple years, Heisman Trophy candidate quarterbacks, and Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier. You have two coaches who are Dabo obviously not quite on the hot seat, but Clemson has been down the last number of years. Brian Kelly, that seat is getting warm. So we will most certainly find out what this LSU team is made of week 1 because their schedule does not get any easier. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later. So, my honorable mention for week 1, Ohio State, Texas. You have two Blue Bloods, two marquee programs that are kicking off at noon, but that's a Fox thing. And hopefully that gets dealt with in the very near future. I don't know if like Gus Johnson has like a bedtime or something. I don't know. Nonetheless, in Columbus, this is Arch Manning's team going on the road in one of the most hostile environments in all of college football. This being the first time it is his team playing real minutes against a real team. It's we're gonna find out exactly what Arch Manning's made of. Now, everybody's been kind of crapping on him, but I think it's very undeserved because he is a very smart guy. Matt Patricia, the new defensive coordinator for Ohio State, he's going to be showcasing what he can do in this as well. He is a very, very talented defensive coordinator. Very good at this. He has one of what many would say, the best defensive player in college football in Caleb Downs. And Matt Patricia, he's going to have to adjust from running the complex defensive NFL schemes and dumb it down just a hair so his defense can go. Not think, go. That's going to be the biggest adjustment that Matt Patricia is going to have to face when going from NFL to college. And I'm sure he will. Again, he's a smart guy. He will figure it out. Now, week 2 have the marquee matchup, Michigan versus Oklahoma. There is so much on the line for Oklahoma here. It is in Norman. Sharon Moore, the homecoming, he's coming home. But in the maize and blue. You have Brett Venables. That seat's hot. That seat is hot, hot, hot. You have the offensive coordinator from Washington State. And you have John here coming in from Washington State. This is it. This is Brett Venables' last-ditch effort to keep that dream job. He He left a comfortable life in Clemson, South Carolina, to come coach this team. And last year was an absolute disaster. And if this is a must win for Oklahoma, there's no way around it. Have to win this game. No questions asked. A loss in this season, with given Oklahoma's SEC schedule, that you're going to be fighting for a bowl game again. You're going to be in that 6-6 range. Michigan, on the other hand, I mean, you got a freshman quarterback. You got a true freshman quarterback going on the road for the first time. This could be a disaster, or this could be a coming out story. We'll see. If Bryce Young is everything that they say that he is, this will be one hell of a game. But we'll see. Oklahoma, it is a tough place to play when the crowd is into it. And given that it is week 2 of the season, Sooner Nation's going to be into it. So there's almost no pressure on Michigan. They're playing with house money. That can be just as dangerous. Oklahoma, everything's on the line. Everything's on the line. So, and then for the honorable mention, I have my 2 dark horses in their respective conferences, Boston College and Michigan State. A tone-setting game. Bill O'Brien. He's a great head coach. Yeah, things went south in Texas, but with Houston, but I think there was more at play than what meets the eye. If you remember, he took over after the situation at Penn State for a couple years, really righted that ship, and really laid the groundwork for James Franklin to be able to come in, take the baton, and continue running with it. And I think Bill O'Brien is going to be building something very special at Boston College. Probably not national championship special, but special by the standards of Boston College. They could be in the fight for the ACC this year. That's how much I believe in Bill O'Brien to run this team. Michigan State, very identical story. No, they got a transfer come in. They are getting they're getting pieces in place. Jonathan Smith, tremendous head coach. I am very high on Jonathan Smith. And I definitely see Michigan State. Whether they actually go on and win the Big Ten, I'm not quite there yet to say that. But they could very well be the Indiana of last year and sneak their way into the playoff. And who knows? Maybe they get to play Notre Dame at Notre Dame. And maybe that game goes a little bit differently than it did for Indiana. And then, yeah. So, week 3, I have Florida, LSU. That's your marquee game. There is so much on the line. DJ Lagwell is healthy. It's game on. Billy Napier, it's on the line. Brian Kelly, it's all on the line. 2 Heisman Trophy contenders. You have, I believe it is in Tiger Stadium. It is in Death Valley. If I wrote this out correctly. I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wronged. Be corrected. Put it in the comments. But assuming this is in Tiger Stadium, And if Florida is able to go in, make that statement, I would hate to be Brian Kelly. But Florida, they could be a surprise team this year as well. DJ, from what everybody is saying, I don't watch a lot of Florida football because, well, they suck. But from what I've been hearing from a lot of people who are much more in depth than I am, say that DJ Legwell is that much of a game changer. We're going to find out in this game. And if he is what they say that he is, I really wouldn't want to be Brian Kelly in this game, in this tenure. And then, for honorable mention, I have Texas A&M versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame, they're playing with house money. They are just happy as can be right now. They made it to the national championship. They're going to be going in. They got a really solid shot at the playoffs this year. They got a young, brilliant, incredible head coach. They're playing with house money. Texas A&M, they had their hopes and dreams ripped away from them because of a poor offense in the last part of the year. Texas ripped their hearts out after coming into the SEC. And I believe this is their first big game. Could be wrong on that. I don't know. I don't remember the A&M schedule off the top of my head, but nonetheless, it is a big game. It is a chance for either one of them to stake their claim into the spotlight and say, hey, I'm here. So, then for week 4, we have Auburn versus Oklahoma. This is a feast or famine game. With Oklahoma, as I mentioned, Bill Venables' career as the Oklahoma Sooner head coach is on the line. You lose this game in Norman, eesh. And then on the Auburn side, poor recruiting so far this year. He's taken shots from Golf Digest because he's golfing so much. You didn't look good last year. This is all piling up. And this is supposed to be the year that you're supposed to show what you really got. So, both these teams, this game is an absolute must-win. And I'm a sucker for the feast or famine type games. You're going to see quite a few of them as we go on. So, and then for honorable mention, I have Michigan at Nebraska. For Matt Rule, this is a must-win. You have to get the win here. You have Michigan at home, no Sharon Moore. This must be a win. You are going to have a better quarterback at home with the better coach. Triple threat. You have to win this game. If Nebraska loses this game, I don't know how you justify keeping Matt Rule. And I know a lot of people have been saying it, but in Nebraska, they may have to be a little bit more patient, but this is your best shot of beating Michigan. If you can't do it now with Dylan Raiola, when are you going to do it? When? So this could very well be a feast or famine type game for Nebraska. And speaking of feast or famine, moving into week 5, the marquee game. Have Penn State versus Oregon. James Franklin is allergic to these big games. This has to be a win. This has to be a win. Because you have better quarterback. You are at home. You are at the home. You have the better quarterback. This is going to be the first big game for Dante Moore. And it's whiteout. And it's under the lights. You have to execute and get the win. So, and then, yeah, if Penn State's able to win this, then we roll on through. Wait till that game against Ohio State. Don't mess it up on the way there. For Oregon, it's you want to flex, you want to defend that Big Ten title. Well, you got to go into Happy Valley and go earn it. That simple. Now, honorable mention. I have 2 of them for this week. The big week for college football. Great week for college football. Georgia, Bama, obvious reasons. Kirby Smart, he's got to get that monkey back off his back. I know Georgia beat Bama in the 2021 national championship game, or the 2022 national championship game. But so they lost last year. They lost last year, heartbreaking fashion. They were thoroughly dominated for the first half. And then got done up by Ryan Walker, a true freshman. Now you're coming in. You got him at home this time, so there's a little bit of a plus. And this Georgia crowd has to show that they are who a lot of people think they are, and turn Sanford Stadium into a very unfriendly confine and make that new quarterback from Alabama, we believe it's going to be Ty Simpson, make him very uncomfortable very early and often. You can do that, then you might see a official turn of the tide in Georgia, Bama. And then the second honorable mention I have, USC versus Illinois. Illinois, they're the consensus favorite dark horse. Really doesn't really make them a dark horse, but USC's got to win this game. Quarterback situation doesn't look great. You've been embarrassed several times last year in your maiden voyage through the Big Ten. Your Pac-10, Pac-12 rival ran through the Big Ten in Oregon last year. And it's Illinois, not the traditional football powerhouse. Now, Illinois, they're looking to make an example out of USC, stake their claim to why they should be in the college football playoff. This is it for Illinois. This is the first game that they have to prove that they belong in the spotlight. They do have a game against Ohio State later in the season, but you got to build the blocks to Ohio State, and this would be the first of many that Illinois has to lay down in order to get there. And with a coach like Brett Bielema, it is certainly possible. Week 6, I have Miami and Florida State. This is a high-pressure game for both sides. You have Mario Cristobal, who had the season derailed last year by Syracuse. And then you have Florida State, where the wheels came off They went down a hill into a ravine. Uh, that was at the bottom of a lake. It went absolutely horrifically wrong last year, and Mike Norvell's job's on the line. Oh, he's got to be winning these games. No ifs, ands, or buts. You got to at least get back to 500 to make a case on why you should keep your job, and winning this game is the first step. And now we move on to the honorable mention of Week 6. This one is a little bit personal. As you know, I am a Patriots fan. North Carolina versus Clemson. This is Bill Belichick's first major test against an elite college football coach. He is going to it is in Chapel Hill. He has every single advantage you could think of outside of quarterback, but he's got the defensive mind. Should be able to stop even a fifth year. I think he's a fifth-year senior, like a Cade Klubnik. He should be able to find a way to slow Clemson down and put the Tar Heels in a position to win. We'll see. And then Clemson, they got to get this game to be able to move on and try to win the ACC. Week 7. You can't go against the Red River. It is one of my favorite rivalries in college football. Oklahoma, Texas. Must win for Oklahoma. Really like to have if you're Texas. We're gonna see Mateer, Manning going at it in the Cotton Bowl. Well, I believe it's in Jerry's World now, but we're gonna say the Cotton Bowl. Absolute must win for Brent Venables if he wants to stay on as the head coach of Oklahoma. Can't be getting smacked around by Texas. That is an absolute cannot do. And then for the honorable mention, USC versus Michigan. Two blue bloods trying to find their way back to national dominance, and one is going to be trying to make an example out of the other. And then we have Week 8. What many believe will be the Big 12 championship game preview in Arizona State versus Texas Tech. Texas has gone all in on the transfer portal. They are paying out the rear end to get as many good players as they can, fill all their holes, and go for the championship. They're not going to be able to win the Big 12 without going through a team as good as Arizona State. Arizona State's the cream of the crop. You got a returning quarterback who is very talented, and it's on. It is on. I believe this game is in Tempe. I believe it's at Arizona State. So they've got to. Arizona State's got to defend home turf. It's gonna be a fun game to watch. And then you have Penn State in Kinnick to play the Iowa Hawkeyes. That is one of my honorable mentions. This is the game that as I mentioned in the Penn State Oregon, don't mess it up on the way to Ohio State. Championship level teams go to Kinnick to die. You have seen it throughout the years. Ohio State, Michigan. I think Michigan State's fallen victim to it. I think Penn State's fallen victim to it before. Going to Kinnick as a top-ranked team especially if this game is under the lights. It is where top tier teams go to die. Championship hopes and dreams go to die in Kinnick Stadium. This is an absolute trap game for Penn State. Even though they don't play till week 10, and we're on week 8, it still counts. I'm still counting it. And then it's the third week of October, Tennessee, Alabama. Tennessee won it last year. Bama, angry. We'll see what state of mind Bama's in. Because if this season goes off the rails like it very well could be, then yowzers. I do not want to be a part of that locker room. Because the wheels could easily come off. Because in week 9, it is Alabama at Williams-Brice Stadium in South Carolina. That is my marquee matchup for week 9. Lenore Sales, tremendous quarterback talent. Can he be the one that lifts the Gamecocks up and above the tide and finally get that daunting victory over Alabama? Williams-Brice Stadium is a madhouse, and they want to feel it. When they feel like they can impact the game, Williams-Brice is a tough place to play. You can bet South Carolina is going to be in a position to be able to get the crowd riled up, get the young quarterback who should be experienced enough at this point to be able to go rattle his cage a little bit, get him off kilter. That is what the marquee matchup is. Alabama, South Carolina, in Williams-Brice. South Carolina, they feel like they have a shot at Alabama finally. After so many years, after wasting it with Connor Shaw and Alshon Jeffrey, Marcus Lattimore, they now finally have something again. They got something going. Finally got a shot at Bama with a full team, and Alabama seems to be very, very down. So, and then my honorable mention, and you're going to call me a Big Ten homer, I do not care. Michigan State is my honorable mention. This game, I believe, is in East Lansing. Michigan has a freshman quarterback, an inexperienced head coach. Michigan State has maybe the most underrated head coach in the Big Ten, Jonathan Smith. I believe his quarterback from Oregon State, now fully in the helm. And Michigan State is very good at being a pain in Michigan's side when they really, really want to be. I said within the first 2 years, Jonathan Smith's era, he's going to get a win over Michigan. This is year 2. And here is your upset of week 9, Michigan State over the Wolverines. Could it be? Could it be? And then week 10, Penn State, Ohio State in Columbus. This is the game that you have to get that proverbial monkey off James Franklin's back. He can't win the big games. He can't do this. He can't do that. He's never going to win a championship because he can't win the big game. This is how you make that statement. This is how you punch your ticket to Indianapolis, no questions asked, and go and get that Big Ten title. James Franklin has lost to Ohio State every single year except for 2017, I believe. Their only losses are to They were to Ohio State, Michigan before the expansion. The last 2 years, Penn State's going to have the better quarterback in this game. Drew Aller, top NFL talent. He can go in and win this game. The only have Jim Knowles on defense. You've upgraded. You have everything in front of you. You have the opportunity to win to Columbus, to the hostile environment, and cement your claim to Indy with a win in this game and get that monkey off your back once and for all. Because once you beat Ohio State in Columbus, you don't get questioned again. Just ask Sharon Moore. And then my honorable mention, the world's largest cocktail party, Georgia, Florida. Georgia, they do not have the offensive line that we remember. They do not have the defensive line that we remember. They do not have the depth on defense that we remember. Gunnar Stockton, talented thrower. At least we think. Got to see a glimpse of him. And now we go in with it being his team. Is he going to be able to get that running game? Doesn't look like it. As much as people are hyping up Georgia, they continue to ignore the elephant in the room that these Georgia teams last number of years are getting very, very soft. They're getting dominated on the line of scrimmage against teams like Alabama, Notre Dame, against Ole Miss. These are not legendary teams that Georgia's pumping out anymore. So we'll know by this point whether that particular ship has been righted. Florida, living and dying by DJ Lightway. Living and dying. But if Florida is able to pull off the unthinkable and upset the Dogs I believe this game's in Atlanta. Either Atlanta or Tampa Bay, because Jacksonville's getting a renovation. Because I don't know why, because the Jags suck. But anyway, huge game for both teams. And this could be a game where you're deciding, that could be a deciding factor for the college football playoff as well. And then week 11, LSU, Bama. It's feast or famine for both these teams, both these coaches. Win this game, and you're probably safe from the firing squad. Lose this game, you are front and center with a giant target on your chest. This is a must-win for both teams, and especially for Brian Kelly. Bama, like I've said, they're down. Ty Simpson, very unproven. We'll know what we have from him by the time we get to this point. And if it's not good, well, it may not be Brian Kelly versus Kalen DeBoer. It might be Brian Kelly versus interim head coach. And the same could be said on the other end. If Clemson and Florida have both beaten LSU, this is everything for LSU then. 3 losses, you're kind of pushing it for the playoffs. Because you're going to have a team, you're going to have a couple of teams emerge from the Big Ten. You're going to have at least 1, potentially 3 from the ACC. 1, 2, maybe 3 from the Pac-12, or from the Big 12. And then you got the G5, and potentially Notre Dame. So, if this season is going how we think it could go, jobs are on the line in this game. And then for honorable mention, for the same reason I had Penn State, Iowa in honorable mention. It's Oregon and Kinnick again, where top teams go to die. Enough said. And then we got Tennessee, Florida in week 13 or week 12, I should say. Week 12 we have Texas and Georgia. This is the biggest revenge game Texas has ever played. Georgia blanked them twice. Once in Austin, the other in Atlanta. This one's in Athens. And that crowd is either going to be completely and totally behind their dogs, or they're ready to old yeller them out behind the woodshed. We'll see. I'm very hesitant with Georgia, seeing how they've regressed, especially in the trenches. Texas is going to have a really good running game. So, Georgia absolutely has to be ready for that. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas plays this game conservatively, runs the ball, doesn't let Arch Manning make particular mistakes because of what could be at stake. So it could very well be a trip to the SEC title game. And then for honorable mention, this is how rough of a week it is. Louisville, Clemson. Now, let me tell you why I picked this game. Jeff Brom, the head coach at Louisville, he's very good at building a program. He made Purdue relevant. He made Purdue a decent threat. Louisville has a little bit more resources. They have that desire to win a little bit more. And Clemson's the gold standard. They're level on coaches. Clemson does have the advantage at the quarterback position, but as we know, it doesn't mean everything. So that is my week 12. Now week 13 we have Tennessee versus Florida. This is your pseudo play-in game. This is your pseudo playoff game. Get into the playoffs. Tennessee, Florida. And I believe this is in the swamp as well. Could be wrong. Tennessee, new quarterback. That should be figured out by the time we get to this point. DJ Lagwell, is he healthy enough to keep the Gators relevant? Is Billy Napier still a head coach at this point? We'll all find out together. But if it goes the way that I think it goes, this game could decide a few things. One of them being, one of these teams, is it a win and you're going to Atlanta situation? Or for potentially Billy Napier, you lose, you're fired. And then for honorable mention, I have USC Oregon. A desperation game for USC, perhaps. Always a fun game. And then for this particular week, there's something that needs to be pointed out. Mocked, laughed at, because this is a joke. SEC schools are playing FCS schools in late November before playing their rival. Most of them ACC opponents. You have Georgia playing Charlotte. You have Alabama playing somebody, and then you also have, I believe it's Auburn playing Mercer. Like, I don't give a rip how tough the schedule is. It's a joke. You completely discredit your your conference's toughness when you schedule Mercer in late November. Give me a break and play that ninth freaking game already. Looking stupid as hell playing these games this late in the season. And then week 14. It's impossible to choose one particular game because it's rivalry week. I will say your upset alert, without a doubt, Georgia Tech. Went to 6 overtimes last year. Tech's got their quarterback back. Walker Keynes Hayes, or something like that. Brent Key, I believe, his head coach. They're back. I remember that game. That quarterback Georgia Tech has, he is a workhorse. He is an Iron Man. And given that the rivalry's name is clean old-fashioned hate, you know that hate's still there. And then, obviously, Ohio State, Michigan. The boogeyman for Ryan Day. The first 11 don't mean squat if you lose this game. For those of you who may not be from around the Columbus, Ann Arbor, Toledo area, this game is everything. It is the reason people get up in the morning. It is the reason why people sleep well or do not sleep at all for the next 365 days. You ask anybody on Ohio State, any Ohio State fan, you ask any Michigan fan, they would rather win this game every single year than to ever compete for a national title ever again. They can win this game. They can die happy. That is what this game means. And then you have the Iron Bowl. You have the Egg Bowl. Iowa, Nebraska, which could be a double feast or famine type game. Oklahoma, LSU. That could be a feast or famine type game. Or just complete famine, depending on how terrible the season could potentially go. You have an interesting matchup with Clemson, South Carolina. Both teams talented enough to be playoff teams. What Clemson and South Carolina, they may already know they're going to Atlanta and Charlotte, respectively. They could already potentially know that. It's going to be a wild ride. It is going to absolutely be a wild ride. So, all right. So those are my key matchups week to week in my video podcast of 2025. This season's gonna be wild. I have a feeling that this season is gonna make 2007, which was kicked off with App State blocking a Michigan field goal, beating Michigan in the Big House, and started a whole chain reaction to where at one point West Virginia was the number 2 team in the. I think West Virginia was the number 1 team in the country. If I remember correctly. It was a very, very odd year. This year could be far odder, far crazier. With there not being a clear juggernaut, and they say, "Oh, this team's broken away." I don't think the gap's as wide as what they say. This is gonna be one hell of a year. So buckle up, enjoy the ride. because this season is going to be special. Whoever wins the national title here is going to be well earned. So, all right. I think I got everything in for this. So, make sure if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And if you're listening on podcast, make sure to follow, leave a 5-star review, and we'll see you in the next one.